This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's, well, you know why we picked you. You're on the 15-year anniversary here, and you like to argue with me about ECW, so you're the right guy for us to talk about this. We have talked about some of the other names that were on this show, the ECW originals, Sabu and all the other guys who were under contract, or not Sabu, but Sabu's on the show, but Rob Van Dam and his pal Sabu and so many other talents like Tommy Dreamer are already a part of the crew. But some of the names that were big names in ECW are not going to be on this show. And maybe most notably, the first world champion, Shane Douglas. We've talked about the fact that this show happened at Hammerstein Ballroom, but 2 days before this, before One Night Stand, Shane Douglas decides to host his own ECW reunion show. And that one does happen at the ECW arena in Philadelphia. And on that show, we would get Shane Douglas, Sabu, and Terry Funk, which was one of the early, more notable matches in ECW history. The undercard has Raven and Sandman and Justin Credible and Jerry Lynn and Kid Cash and Too Cold Scorpio. They had a ton of other names, from the FBI to Danny Doring to Axel Rotten to Joel Gertner, on and on. Why wasn't Shane Douglas a part of One Night Stand? Was there just too much heat between the company based on the whole Dean Douglas thing and what all he had said in shoot interviews and in other places about the company? Was it him and Paul Heyman not getting along? Why was Shane sort of from the outside looking in?
Best that I remember, I don't think that the people that were putting together the creative wanted to use Shane, and I think Shane had made it known that he didn't want to be a part of it. So it's a combination of both.
Part of this too is, I think at the time Shane is working with TNA, and he does an interview around the same time where he says that Vince is created the need for the hardcore homecoming show, which is what he's calling his ECW arena reunion show. And he says that the reason it's necessary is because Vince will not allow a talent trade. So if you're associated with TNA, he's not going to let you have an opportunity to come over. I get that maybe in a WCW, or even now maybe an AEW, piece of business. But TNA, I mean, did you guys ever seriously consider TNA a threat or a rival? I mean, especially for a one-off show like this. Or what do you think Vince's rationale in saying no TNA guys?
I don't know that was ever said. I have no idea that was said. That may be speculation. And, a lot of people go ahead and they speculate, and some of your friends that write periodicals that are fiction nowadays, they make up stories and they just say what they think probably happened because they have no true insight or no true, real, reliable sources or anything else that could give them actual facts of things going on. So they just make up things so that they can talk and fill columns in whatever it is that they're writing. So I don't know that Vince ever, considered that at all. I do know that when I was at TNA, that they were open, they came to us for a talent trade with Ric Flair and Christian. And it wasn't some taboo thing. It was, hey, let's talk about it. So that's fact.
Right.
That actually happened. I never heard of this. So to say that it never actually happened, I couldn't tell you one way or the other, but I do know that I never heard of it, wasn't involved in it.
Let's talk about Bite This, which I guess is sort of the WWE's podcast before podcasting was a thing. It was a video show on WWE.com, and they're going to have Paul Heyman and Tommy Dreamer as guests. And after playing a soundbite of Eric Bischoff running down ECW and Paul Heyman, Heyman's going to say that the real reason ECW died is because the wrestling bubble burst and TV executives were looking for alternative programming in place of wrestling. And he would say that WCW lost $80 million their last year. Meanwhile, ECW only lost $7 million over 7 years. And Dreamer said something like, if we had $80 million, ECW would still be in business, and Bite This would either be called Blow Me or Eat Me. And Heyman said he wanted to shoot some more and cleared up the misconception, but he says he gave wrestlers like Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio and Tommy Dreamer and Steve Austin a platform to perfect their craft. And he says that JBL's promo on SmackDown was merely Brian Gerwitz trying to quote unquote shoot on television, or Gewirtz. I always say it the wrong way, the way you like. Heyman is, sort of defending his position from ECW back in the day. Does this fly under everybody in the office's radar? Does anybody care at this point what Heyman is saying about ECW, or is this more just pay-per-view promotion?
It's pay-per-view promotion.
Of course.
That's all it is.
They do even talk about, which I was kind of surprised that, they addressed it on Bite This, Shane Douglas's Hardcore Homecoming show. And Heyman said he hopes the show does well because he wants any product trying to capitalize on the ECW experience to be successful. Quote, I never want someone who is searching for the ECW experience to be frustrated or let down, because that hurts the ECW legacy, which I thought was pretty cool. And of course, Tommy Dreamer, being one of the boys, says he's glad that a lot of the wrestlers are making another payday, but he says the Homecoming show would not be authentic because it's not really Paul Heyman's vision. And Dreamer pointed out that Douglas doesn't like Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman replies, I don't give a fuck if he likes me or not. I'm not here for him to like. So that answers our question about whether or not Shane Douglas and Paul Heyman got along. Heyman closes the show by saying his contract is up at the end of the year and he doesn't know if Vince McMahon is going to want him back. But Heyman said if the pay-per-view does well, maybe Vince will want him to come back and do a return ECW show, or maybe explore other projects. Terry Funk is not here. We know that, him and Sabu and Shane Douglas tore it up 2 nights prior to this. Do you think that, and we know Shane's not here and he's drawn a line in the sand or whatever. Do you think Terry Funk regrets not being a part of such a important show like One Night Stand 2005?
Possibly, but like I said earlier, Terry's going to do Terry, and that's what makes Terry Funk so unique and so loved, is that in a lot of ways you never know what Terry's going to do, and whatever Terry does is what he firmly believes. So it goes with the wind.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.